inflation. It's something that's been on the American mind really since the pandemic, where we saw the prices of everything go up 50%, 100%, some cases 200%. Prices doubled in what seemed like it was overnight. And kind of the collective trauma that the American public, especially the working class, went through has really lingered on to this point now. With the economic uncertainty that we have in America right now, there's a lot of doom and gloom that's going on, but a lot of it's for the right reasons. The effects of the tariffs have really only started to begun to show themselves throughout the country, especially in the West Coast. But as we see those intensify and drift throughout the country, those consequences are going to be a lot more apparent. Now, what does that have to do with inflation? The government's going to do what the government thinks is the right thing to do, and this administration is the same administration that was in power during the days of COVID. So what did they do last time when the US economy took a big downturn and people were suffering, people were losing their jobs? They started writing checks. And I think that that's something that we might see again soon. There's already been talks of stimulus checks bouncing around Capitol Hill. Now, what happens if that goes into effect? And is that even a possibility? What we've seen over the past couple days on Capitol Hill is that a new bill to raise the debt ceiling in America by $4.2 to $5 trillion looks like it's going to be passed. A lot of the talks and promises that were made by this administration when they came into power was all about lowering the national debt. By cutting federal jobs and slashing social programs, it was supposed to save up enough money that we were going to have a surplus by the end of the year and not a deficit. If that's the case, then why are we going to go ahead and raise the debt ceiling by another $5 trillion? I honestly do believe that this is because the consequences of those tariffs haven't hit. And although they've been rolled back from 145% to 30%, that 30% is still going to kill a lot of small businesses. And that's a 30% tax essentially on the American people on top of sales tax that they already have to pay. So in a way, these tariffs already act as supplemental inflation. Now, when the consequences of these tariffs hit and scarcity takes hold of the American mindset again, what happens next? How does the government edge back the call for accountability that would come from the public once the economy really starts to collapse and we start to go into recession? Well, they'll bribe them, of course, because this is a fitting thing and this is what they did. And this was a popular measure that was done during the pandemic. And what we realized from the insane spending from the pandemic, although a lot of the stimulus checks were needed, the impact of printing that much money had huge effects down the road that we're still suffering from today. Price of assets and common products all over the country, doesn't matter what it is higher. And that's simply because the dollar has been devalued so much that has the buying power of about half of what it did just 10 years ago. So in case of a new economic emergency, it's absolutely on the table that stimulus checks will be put out again, along with the same massive bailouts to small businesses and Wall Street. It's all on the table, and it all leads to a spike in more inflation. We devalue the dollar just by another 25 or 30%, and then you still have a potential 10 to 30% tariff on all incoming goods. It leads to a real bad place for the American people. This will crush Americans. This kind of inflation coming in, whether it's real or whether it's the effect of tariffs, is going to crush American people. It's going to push people out of their homes. It's going to make food insecurity a big deal again. It's going to absolutely destroy the working poor of America. And by going ahead and cutting away a lot of the social programs, welfare, and Section 8 that these people rely on, increasing prices by 30, 40, 50% by tariffs and inflation is the death knell to the economy. Just is, because at that point the negative impacts of all these decisions will far outweigh any benefit that comes 4 or 5 years down the road, if there's going to be any to begin with. Because if our economy weakens so much that the American confidence, not just our economy but in our country, wavers that much, it's blood in the water to our real or economic enemies all over the world. The question is this being done on purpose? If they're going to go ahead and raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion now, that means they plan on spending probably at least $5 trillion this year. So where's that $5 trillion going to go? Because with all the slashing of government programs, social assistance, social safety nets, and government programs, government jobs, shouldn't we be moving towards a surplus? I thought that was the goal of all this, to make America more stable. But all this just leads to a much more unstable America, where Americans have to live in kind of freaking constant paranoia with the idea that scarcity is just down the road and more layoffs are going to be right around the corner. Because once the prices go up and people lose their ability to keep spending money in this economy, more companies and corporations are either going to have to shut down, slow down, or move offshore. It's really the only way. And when they do that, what happens? Millions of more jobs are going to be lost. We already saw 3.5 million jobs lost in the first 2 months of this country. What can we really expect when inflation creeps in and that causes more companies and corporations to have to really trim the fat just to survive? Because the only way the government can actually act to prevent them from doing that would be absolutely massive bailouts to these companies and corporations so that they can keep their employees. But those bailouts are usually siphoned off for massive bonuses to CEOs, CFOs, and investors, which means that not only will the bailouts be made and they'll have no effect and people will still lose their jobs, but in the end, that's going to increase inflation anymore because there's going to have to be emergency steps to raise the debt ceiling again so they can keep printing. So that's all this does again, is increase prices again and again and again, pricing out the American people from even being American at this point. There's a lot of criticism to this kind of stance, saying that the shelves are still full, CPI is actually a little bit lower than it was last year. But of course, this is all reliant of data that happened quite some time ago and isn't relevant to the moment that we're in right now. We have to look at the world around us and take in the news as it's happening and look down the road to understand the uncertainty that's happening in our markets right now. Although consumer confidence in the stock market's been absolutely wavering over the past couple months, and although you see a small upturn because there's been a pause in trade deals, understand that these times in a down market are used to still make profit on Wall Street. Because you're going to get a small pump, then it's just going to keep going back down. Because there's no reason to be confident in the economy right now. Because like I said, the effects of the tariffs really haven't even hit America yet. And with protracted negotiations going on, to understand that where we're even going to go next in this trade war, that breeds more uncertainty and pushes back a lot of plans on building and investment, as people can't actually price out the cost of projects because the unpredictability of how much things are going to cost just within the next 90 days. And after that, no one can tell. What is certain right now is that the American people are paying 30% extra on all products coming in from China right now. And that relates to clothing, manufacturing, construction, agriculture. It relates to so many different sectors. And in those sectors specifically, you're not really going to see the impacts of those immediately. We should know better after what we went through a few years ago with the inflation from COVID, that these effects take a long time. Now, when the idea of scarcity actually enters into the mind of society, yeah, you're going to see empty shelves because people panic buy. You're starting to see people get a little bit prepared now, but as more negative economic indicators really start to hit the market, I think you're going to see more of a sentiment of scarcity and paranoia really hitting the market again. Number one, it's going to cause more of a downturn. It's going to cause more panic buying, which means there's less products on the shelves. And when there's less products on the shelves, that of course decreases consumer confidence even more. It's just a continuous cycle until we have something to really shake us out of this negative position and put us back in the positive. Honestly, we're just going to keep trending down. At this point, the only thing that can really be done to kind of reverse this trend would be to completely do away with the tariffs on both sides. Just have some kind of agreement where, hey, you want 10% on both sides, that's fine. If the two countries are just going to continue to keep trying to economically crush each other, then this isn't going to go away anytime soon. And we have to prepare ourselves for that. Because the bubble leading up to this next recession has been building for a long time. And when it pops, it's going to be incredibly damaging. And it's going to change the very fabric of our country. But like I said, we have to start hedging our bets now and prepare for the inflation that is certain to come at this point. So there is still time, of course, to get ready. Go ahead and buy as much stuff as you can and need to really fill your pantry. Make sure that you have clean water supplies. Make sure that you have all the hygiene products you need. Baby formula is always a big thing if you have a family. We remember the massive shortages that happened during the global pandemic. We have about a 6-month supply. We're pretty good with that. As far as money and assets go, like I said, we know for sure that the value of the dollar is going to continue to go down. With raising the debt ceiling, that guarantees that they're going to start printing money again. And when that happens, what happens to the value of the dollar? It goes down. So why not put your money into something that's kind of safe against inflation? Like precious metals, of course, gold and silver are always going to be safe. And I would caution about actually getting into cryptocurrency right now because I think we're on the tail end of the bull market. We must still get another mass movement up or we can have a deep correction over the next couple of years, and you can really lose 60-70% of whatever you put in. It's a dangerous time for that. And of course, there's always real estate. Although the prices of that, as we're going to start seeing housing crashes come about, you really don't know if it's going to go up or down. I will say that when the interest rates go down and inflation happens again, we're going to end up seeing massive spikes in property values once again. So just prepare for that. And if you are locked into a home or any kind of asset that's strong against the dollar, just kind of hold on to that for a while and let that appreciate, because it might really save your bacon at the end. But of course, all this seems to be by design in the end, by an administration who keeps moving these radical economic position, either putting us in trade wars, cutting social services and social safety nets, while at the same time putting America in a position where it almost guarantees us to see rapid inflation again. So again, in the end of this, the working class, the working poor, the disabled, the indigent, all these people are going to get absolutely crushed by this next massive wave of inflation that we have coming towards us right now. And the only question we can really have at this point is, when does it happen and how long is it going to be until it ends? Because once it starts, it's going to keep going for quite some time. This administration still has, 3.5 years to go. And by going in the direction that we're going right now, it's kind of untold damage that can really be wrought on this country. And the kind of lack of seriousness when it comes to the concerns of normal people that is really showing from this administration should really bring great concern to the American people, I think. When millions of people are losing their jobs to massive corporate layoffs, the closure of small businesses, and the mass layoffs of federal jobs. And while the American people are being told that they can only do business within the United States, seeing our president go ahead and accept a $400 million plane from another country shows that the rules are for the common people, but not for the political elite. And really, that's nothing that's changed. It's always been like that. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. If you're still around at this point, like and subscribe. We have memberships if you want to support the channel. Of course, we always have super chats and donations. We really like the community that we have going on here, and it's all about supporting each other on this channel, especially when it comes to kind of normal people, the working class American, because there isn't really a voice for us in media, and kind of collectively in our comment section, we can really have a chance to kind of talk to each other and see where we're at. And I think it's a good thing. So anyway, thank you for stopping by again. The weather's nice. Get outside, get some fresh air, get out of the office if you can, and watch some more of our content if you're interested in what's going on in the world right now. But again, have a good one.